Stay tuned to the end of the video to hear my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Hello and welcome to Mad About Superheroes Superhero Rewind. Today we hit the rewind button back to 1990 to revisit the original Captain America. Captain America, created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, first appeared in Captain America #1, published by Timely Comics in 1949, before the company transitioned to Marvel. Steve Rogers, a frail man, is enhanced to the peak of human physical perfection by an experimental super soldier serum after joining the United States Army to aid the country's efforts in World War II. Equipped with an American flag-inspired costume and a virtually indestructible shield, Rogers becomes the Sentinel of Liberty, also known as Captain America. Steve and his teenage sidekick Bucky Barnes frequently battle the villainous Red Skull and other members of the Axis powers. In the final days of the war, an accident leaves Captain America frozen in a state of suspended animation until he's revived in the modern era, where he resumes his exploits as a costume hero and becomes the leader of Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers. Captain America was revived from Marvel Comics by original co-creator Jack Kirby and his new collaborator Stan Lee in the early 1960s. Captain America spun out into other forms of media as well, including black and white film serials in the late 1940s, a 60s cartoon, and 2 made-for-television movies in the late 1970s. A theatrical Captain America movie was briefly in pre-production stages under Universal sometime in the 80s, but never got off the ground. And the film rights were later acquired by Canon Pictures, but a film never materialized there either. And for better or worse, a Captain America movie wouldn't come to fruition till over a decade later. Albert Pyun, who directed personal favorite Cyborg starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, directed the 1990 direct-to-home video Captain America movie, produced by 21st Century Film Corporation. The 1990 Captain America film is well documented as being notoriously bad. In 1936 Italy, a child prodigy is kidnapped, and his family is killed. The boy is used in an experiment to create a Nazi super soldier. The scientist in charge of the procedure, Dr. Vaselli, objects to this cruelty and defects to the United States. 7 years later, Vaselli's super soldier formula is ready to be put to good use, after years of searching for a proper candidate to volunteer to undergo the transformative process. Steve Rogers, who is exempt from the draft due to having polio, is eager to sign up and do whatever it takes to serve his country. Steve says his goodbyes to his girlfriend Bernie and his family. Later, at a secret government installation, the formula successfully cures Rogers' polio and gives him superhuman strength and endurance. But before any more super soldiers can be created, Vaselli is murdered by a Nazi spy before Steve manages to kill him. Meanwhile, the now adult Nazi super soldier has become the Red Skull, and he is planning to launch a prototype missile at the White House. Rogers, now codenamed Captain America, is sent to neutralize the Red Skull and the missile. Cap penetrates the Nazi compound and makes short work of the enemy soldiers. And though he puts up a good fight against the Red Skull, Cap's defeated and tied to the missile. As it's about to launch, Captain America grabs the Red Skull's arm and forces him to cut off his own hand to avoid being taken along for the ride. While the missile is speeding over Washington, D.C., a young boy named Tom Kimball takes a photograph as Captain America kicks one of the missile's fins, changing its course away from the White House and ultimately crashing somewhere in Alaska, burying itself and Rogers under the ice. Decades pass by, and in 1992, Tom Kimball is elected President of the United States. Following the war, the Red Skull had extensive plastic surgery to partially alter his disfigured features, raise the hitwoman daughter, Valentina, and become the leader of a powerful crime family. The Red Skull plans to kidnap Kimball and brainwash him to serve his evil objectives. Meanwhile, in Alaska, a team of researchers accidentally find Rogers' body frozen in a block of ice. and he awakens still thinking that it's the 1940s. His mysterious reappearance makes international headlines, alerting both Kimball and the Red Skull, who sends his daughter and her henchmen in for the kill. Kimball sends his reporter friend Sam to locate Cap. He finds him and helps him escape.
Come on, come on!
After which, Rogers brushes Sam off and makes his way back to his old girlfriend Bernie in California. While she still lives at her old residence, she has long since married and has a daughter, Sharon. The Red Skull's thugs, led by his daughter Valentina, break into Bernie's house and kill her during their efforts to find Rogers. Steve and Sharon travel to Italy, and in the Red Skull's childhood home, they locate an old tape recording of the murder of his parents. Steve and Sharon are chased through the streets of Italy by Valentina and her cohorts. Eventually, Sharon gets captured as a distraction to allow Rogers to enter the Red Skull's castle on his own terms. Kimball escapes from his cell, and when he's about to be recaptured, he leaps off the castle top and is rescued by Captain America. Cap and the Red Skull clash for a second time, and Cap fares much better this time around. And amidst the battle, the Red Skull pulls out a remote trigger for a nuclear bomb. But Cap uses the recording of the Red Skull's family's murder to distract him. Just as the Red Skull recovers, Captain America throws his mighty shield and takes him down once and for all. Valentina prepares to kill Rogers, but she is hit from behind by his returning shield.
There's new action in the universe from Marvel superheroes.
Spider-Man! Dr. Octopus! I'll bend Dr. Octopus in half, Captain America. No time, Hawk. My shield will cut him down to size. Meet your doom, America.
But Captain America's Turbo Coupe has a surprise for Dr. Doom.
He's all yours, Spidey.
Action figures and Captain America Turbo Coupe, each sold separately from Toy Biz.
I had seen the poster for Captain America in a movie theater in 1990 that was on the wall for weeks. The poster advertised coming soon, but the film wasn't released until 1992 and went straight to home video, never released in theaters. Though the film takes some liberties with the Marvel comics on which it's based, it still manages to remain somewhat faithful to the original source material, such as Steve Rogers becoming Captain America during World War II, to battle the Red Skull, as well as being frozen in ice for decades, before being revived in the modern world. Going by low-budget B-movie standards, the strongest part of the film is the opening, when it honors the origin depicted in the original comic books. I also like the ending battle with the Red Skull and his henchmen. The middle of the film isn't executed as well. Steve spends most of the middle of the movie in civilian attire, and though there are some action sequences, they aren't very good, aside from a couple of cool acrobatics. Captain America's trademark shield looks kinda cool, but it looks plastic, which is probably what it's actually made of, and Cap's costume looks too rubbery, no doubt inspired by the costume design from Tim Burton's Batman, unfortunately nowhere near as well done, specifically the awkwardly placed eye holes and the rubber ears. At least it's comic accurate though. The makeup and prosthetics used for the Red Skull aren't bad, but they aren't consistent or aren't confident enough with the way it looks and quickly change it up, using the exclusive plastic surgery. Personally, I think the makeup and prosthetics used for Skeletor a few years prior in Masters of the Universe looks much better. The film tries to portray the Red Skull as a tragic figure, but it's not executed very well. Captain America has a solid cast, including seasoned actors such as Ronnie Cox of RoboCop and Ned Beatty of Superman the Movie. Kim Gillingham does a really nice job as both Bernie and Sharon, playing both vulnerable and capable very well throughout the film. However, in my opinion, Matt Salinger is miscast as Steve Rogers' Captain America. He just doesn't sell the wide-eyed optimism of Steve Rogers or the heroic side of Captain America for my taste. That could be partially to blame on the way the character is written, but I think a different actor could have brought something better to the role. Director Albert Pyun saw someone different in the role as well.
And I wanted to cast Howie Long, football player.
It took almost 2 decades for another Captain America film adaptation to finally debut, and to say the least, Captain America: The First Avenger was well worth the wait. Though the Marvel Cinematic Universe began in 2008 with Iron Man, the Marvel Cartoon Universe was thriving on the small screen during the 1990s. Among Fantastic Four, Iron Man, and the Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man and X-Men were the biggest successes. Captain America had great guest appearances on both Spider-Man and X-Men. A Captain America animated series was supposed to debut in the late 90s, but unfortunately the series never made it past pre-production. Currently, we live in a world with an embarrassment of riches regarding superhero movies. In retrospect, without the benefit of hindsight, this comic geek was starved for superhero content. I waited and eagerly anticipated late 80s, early 90s superhero movies such as Canon Pictures' Spider-Man, which never was produced, The Punisher starring Dolph Lundgren, The Fantastic Four produced by Roger Corman, and Captain America. Even held to standards of the era which they were released in, these movies aren't necessarily good, but you can't get to the good without having the bad. And I, for one, enjoy a good bad movie, especially a good bad superhero movie. So maybe Captain America: Brave New World will be entertaining on a so bad it's good level, which would be unfortunate because the Captain America trilogy is the best trilogy in the MCU. The casting of Chris Evans as Captain America was as inspired as casting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man or Chris Hemsworth as Thor. In fact, for the most part, Marvel Studios has had pretty spot-on casting overall. Case in point, Anthony Mackie was perfectly cast as the Falcon, and didn't need to be shoehorned in as Captain America. It didn't work in the comics, and it didn't work on the small screen, and I don't think it'll work on the big screen any better. I actually like the amalgam of the Falcon and Captain America costumes from a design concept. I also like the DC and Marvel amalgam universe back in the 90s. However, the idea of a mashup of Wolverine and Batman is fun for a couple of issues or so, but it gets old real quick. Those respective characters have legacies of their own. The mashup of characters is a gimmick or a novelty, and ultimately has no longevity, which is why it doesn't make much sense for Sam Wilson to take over as Captain America, when he has such a great heroic identity of his own. Sam Wilson is a superhero in his own right. He has a legacy all his own as the Falcon. If Steve Rogers retires or dies or whatever, and isn't Cap anymore, Sam can honor his friend best by continuing to be the hero he already is. He does not have to inherit the title and the uniform of Captain America to uphold Steve's ideals. It seemed obvious that the successor to Cap's mantle would be Bucky. Other than trying to subvert expectations, what logical sense does it make handing Sam the shield and not Bucky? That said, I'm open-minded. I can be won over with the idea if you write a compelling story, and if the transition makes sense. Unfortunately, the transition of Sam Wilson into Captain America in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series wasn't handled very well at all.
Every time I pick this thing up, I know there are millions of people out there who are going to hate me for it.
After Avengers Endgame, I kinda saw the writing on the wall, and became more selective as to which MCU films I went to the theaters to check out. For example, I skipped Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Doctor Strange 2, and Wakanda Forever, to name a few among many more, and I plan on skipping Captain America: Brave New World as well. Like I said, I like the amalgam of the Cap and Falcon costumes, but without a good story and well-written characters to back up the cool aesthetic, all you've got is a lot of style with no substance, and in the end, no audience. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks so much for letting your geek flags fly with Mad About Superheroes.
Thanks.